Irish Oaks winner You Got To Me is the latest classic winner to come out of Book 1 of the Tattersalls October yearling sales. Trained by Rafe Beckett, she was sourced at Book 1 for 200,000 guineas by agent Alex Elliott, and I've come here to Kimpton Down Stables to find out more about her exciting plans for the rest of the season. So 3 weeks on from Ireland, how is You Got To Me? How's she been at home?
Very well. I've been very happy with her recent work. She did a nice bit on the grass on Saturday. That went as well or better than expected. I think York will set up really well for her as a track. I think the time scale is good for her as well. She's a filly who needs to be kept on the go. She's not one who we could be sort of hanging on to for targets later down the line. You kind of have to keep rolling with her.
And that's really interesting because to the onlooker, she looks like she's very hard on herself. A lot of people, even after her Oaks trial, would have said, is that going to take the edge off her going into the Classic? But she thrives for it, presumably.
Yeah, it's part of her makeup. Her dam got better with racing, started as a handicapper and ended up winning the Geltries. Just took her racing really well, and I think this filly is of the same. I didn't actually intend to work her at the weekend, but she was getting increasingly fresh through the week, and given the choice, I'd have probably left her and just done one piece of work before York. It looks like I might have to do two. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's the way she's made. Yeah.
And mentality-wise, we've seen that sort of furnishing of her and Hector getting to grips with her where she can be free and keen. Do you feel that is now kind of, you're now on top of that based on how she raced in Ireland last time?
I think the tongue strap was the thing that sort of was perhaps the piece in the jigsaw, and a strong pace on the Curragh as well. If we get a strong gallop at York, I think he might just be able to get on top of her now, even if they don't go a good gallop at York. I think we might have just unlocked it there with the combination of extras, if you like. Yeah.
And temperament-wise, is she quite tricky, or it's more when she goes to the races that's...
She's actually very straightforward, yeah, to train, and always has been. On debut, we purposely went to Kempton because it was close to home and she had to go around a bend. We thought she might be keen as early in the piece as that. Her rider, Beth Daly's had a big influence on the way she's turned out. She rides her extremely well, understands her very well. So that's been a significant part of the jigsaw as well.
But it's You Got To Me out in front from Buchek. You Got To Me and Hector Crouch, nudging out hands and heels, one going away by nearly 2 lengths.
What about physically, how she changed through the season?
We all feel that there's more of her. It's a fine line you have to tread. Because she is hard on herself, she could quite easily lose weight. I was concerned immediately after the Oaks that, I wasn't going to get her put back on what she'd lost quickly. As it turned out, I was wrong about that. You just have to get your timings right. Charlie, Meg, one job. Good.
She looks fantastic. Are you happy with what she did this morning?
Yeah, she galloped on Saturday, and Monday's always an easier day for the fillies anyway. So, yeah, she's in good terms with herself. That much is obvious,
How much has she surprised you with her development through the season? I mean, did you see that ability early on and then it was a case of harnessing the sort of mental capacity and the ability to settle, or has she kind of surprised you almost?
She has surprised me. That would be the case. I felt she ran well in the Montrose at 2.
Yeah.
And I know she's by Nathaniel and Adam Medician mare, but I thought that might be her level.
Interesting. On the heavy ground that day.
On the heavy ground that day. That may have been a negative factor. We got her ready for the trial in a way that was all on her terms. Yeah. I hadn't really turned the screw with her before the Lingfield Oaks trial. I mean, I actually fancied Treasure a lot more that day. We thought Treasure's work was always much better than hers, and probably better than any of the 4 that we ran in the Oaks.
And talk us through the race in Ireland, because she looked to get a beautiful toe through, fast pace, everything set up ideally for her. And then after the race, Hector said that wasn't necessarily the plan, that things had gone wrong at the stalls. So you were happy to go on with her, were you? Did you expect her to be where she was in the race?
We felt, I think, initially we'd either be on the lead or in the first 5. And then when she got sideswiped coming out of the stalls and there was a strong gallop, and the fact that he had plenty of cover in front and alongside him. That then meant that we went into plan B. I think in an ideal world, if we thought she'd go with us, we'd have ridden her that way. But we weren't, you know, although the tongue strap had an effect at home, we felt, we weren't convinced it was going to have an effect on the track.
Does it inform you now going forward in races?
Yeah. Hector's very much of the mind we can ride her any way we want now. He's, you know, something he said after our work on Saturday would indicate that that's what he believes.
On the outside, but it is You Got To Me, another big day at the corner for Ralph Beckett.
York next week, all being well. What does the rest of the season then look like?
I think if it went to plan and she was really competitive at York, I think our owners would be really keen on the Arc. I think there's a good chance she'll go there, or the fillies and mares on Champions Day. Those would be the two races I would think that we'll work back from.
Do you have any concerns about going back on softer ground?
I would, actually, yes, because she's a good moving filly. You can always get yourself slightly boxed in about ground. You think with a pedigree like that and the make and shape, the soft ground would suit. But actually, she doesn't move like a soft ground filly. Now, given how running the Oaks was, where there was some give in the ground, I think we'd probably feel that we want to stick to faster ground given the choice. Would
she be one to travel? Have you looked at anything further afield?
I wouldn't rule it out. I'm not sure I think it's what we should do, but I wouldn't rule it out given how she's developed.
Yeah. Does she need a big galloping track ideally?
I think I'm not sure about that either. I'm not sure that's a prerequisite. I think it would just be how we felt, whether she would handle dropping back slightly. If we were to go to America, she'd have to drop back in trip. That would perhaps be a bigger factor.
At 200,000 all done last time, at 200,000 last time and sold at 200. Alex Elliott, thank you, sir. 200,000 buys.
Talk us through when you first saw her at Tattersalls and what brief you were trying to fill when you went to book one.
Yes, I suppose Valmont and Anthony and I and Rafe were sort of built around staying horses. They've got great residual value if they don't quite hit where you need them to, like she has. You've always got great residual. So when she first came out, she's obviously a beautiful looking filly. She was sold by Flash Conroy Glenvale, who's always got fantastic stock. So you're always looking forward to seeing what comes out the box. And she came out, she was tall, she was angular, she stood over a lot of ground. And physically, fantastic walk, great action. And just her quality shone through. You can see it in her head and her ears and her disposition. And then I got down into the pedigree. She's by Nathaniel. You know, she was going to be in our wheelhouse. And then actually her brother Ziggy is a horse that we tried to buy privately. He'd won at Haydock, beating a horse of Rafe's that we quite fancied. And this horse Ziggy, trained by Harry Eustace, won really well. So when I saw he jumped into the pedigree in the year that she'd been bought between foal and yearling, so it made a bit of sense to us. She's out of a Goltras winner, and you know, I always thought in the back of my mind, I thought whenever I'm looking at them, I think if they can get to 90, they're going to be worth something.
Yeah.
So I thought if she could get to 90, I thought she's going to be at least have residual to go jumping. I thought Harold Kerr, Nathaniel Fillies, Concertista, Anthony Bromley. That's going to be our safety net, and she's proved me pretty stupid for thinking that of her. But no, she's been amazing.
And it all came together with her in splendid fashion in the Irish Oaks. How important and special has that been for you as a buying team and for Valmont? Listen,
we're very lucky. We're very blessed to have had it happen so early. She was so we started buying yearlings in 21 with a staying profile with a view to selling them at some stage before or at the end of their 3-year-old career. That's when they're most valuable. And for us to get a classic winner in our second crop of yearlings, it's just, you got to pinch yourself. You know, we've had some lovely horses, as I said, you know, and we've traded some very well, but 3-year-old fillies, there's just a bit of magical quality about them. For us to be lucky enough to have one on the team, it's incredible, and kudos to Rafe and his team. I think she's just, hopefully, touch wood, I shouldn't say it, but she's going to get better and better.
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it? I mean, no one was there at the Oaks. Were expectations high going into the race?
Well, no, Anthony was in Greece and I was in Mallorca. And,
were you?
Yeah, I was, yeah. We were in Mallorca, shall I say. And Anthony was like, after she won, he was like, well, she was 25-1. We couldn't fly back for that. Sit in Dublin Airport and then fly home with our tail between our legs. But, you know, if it means she's going to win another one, I'll fly to Australia if I have to. No, and she's just starting to fill that frame that, you know, you can see now. Her neck's getting thicker, and that frame that we saw a couple of years ago at Book One is it's finally coming to fruition, and I must say it's great to do it with Newsells, who obviously stand Nathaniel as well.
Yeah, tell us how Newsells got involved and how that's.
I got a call from Julian maybe a few days after she'd won. I was driving out of Salisbury races, and Julian said, Graham Smith-Burnell has seen your Nathaniel filly win. We know that you guys trade. Would you be interested in partnering up? And we said at what level. We got a deal done. And it's been fun. They've been fantastic partners. You know, she hasn't been obviously she ran in the Montrose after that, and she ran a perfectly satisfactory 5th. And then we went to Lingfield Start of the Year. She did it all wrong, but she won. And I was like, oh no, is this the way she's going to be? In the Oaks, she settled well. And then obviously the Ribblesdale was a bit of a throw-out, but the way she ran to the line in the Ribblesdale was just, it was phenomenal. But for them to be such understanding horsemen, you've got Julian, you've got Gary Coffey, the racing manager, and then you've got Graham, who although he's relatively new to the game, he's got a hell of a, he's picked up a hell of a lot. And, you know, I think everyone's just doing everything in the interest of the filly. As I say, I think she's going to keep moving, hopefully keep moving forward, and if that's, then I think the world's her oyster.